I'd always dreamed of being able to perform in situations like this.
I got chills. I've seen it 100 times too.
I was in the moment. The guys were in the moment.
You know, these things all pop in your head.
It was the most nervous I've ever been in a game.
There are almost no words.
An inch or two can change the outcome of a game.
It is one of the greatest catches I've ever seen.
The ball is right there, close, die.
The outcome of the history of a franchise.
Only 23 in over 100-something years. I mean,
That's not easy to do.
Not have any errors, no walks, no hit by pitches.
one little thing, and it's gone.
Why does that moment happen on the day I pitched? It's taken this long, 10 years now, to start to really be able to put it together.
Got him! And that's a perfect game!
All right, so here we go. Ready for the game here tonight. Second game of this 3-game series. It's Cain pitching about as well as he ever has in his excellent Giants career.
He was one of the best pitchers in baseball. He had had a really good career leading up to 2012. This was the sharpest he ever was.
Cain overall in the season, very fine year, 7-2 with a 2.41 ERA.
There was a couple things he changed. How he started, how he went through his delivery, and where he stood on the rubber. Changeup was good. His slider was definitely better, and he always had a curveball. And his fastball was locating. He was becoming a very mature pitcher.
One of the first starts of the season was here, and I threw a complete game against the Pirates.
Complete game shutout, home opener, Matt Cain. I don't know if it gets any better than that for a starting pitcher.
There seemed to be a lot of things rolling in the right directions that don't always happen, you know, at the beginning of a season or halfway through the season. And this one just seemed to keep going steady. It was climbing and climbing, and everything was building in the right direction.
It was really nice not to necessarily be so focused on performance and what the outcome was, but just appreciative of being on the field.
And Posey gets clobbered. Posey is hurt.
This is a pretty devastating injury on a leg. Just having this guy back, it turned us into competing really hard and not winning to winning the games.
A lot of my focus was on my ankle and just making sure that it was in a place that I could be on the field each day. For me, that year was probably the best that I ever just went day to day.
Giants won the ball game last night by a final of 6-3 as we get ready for game 2 of the series. Here's John Miller.
All right, thanks, Kai. And the first pitch of the night is in for a called strike.
I definitely did feel that I had great location with my fastball early on.
He was able to ease into a game, meaning not necessarily he was going to throw 93, 95 right out the gate, but had enough carry on 91, 92 that it was still effective.
Cain strikes out Schaefer with the high fastball on the inside.
He was just on such a roll that you felt like you were going to be able to do whatever you wanted to do throughout the game.
He struck him out with the fastball. Into the count, and he struck him out with a changeup, and that was a beauty.
We saw he was confident, and the stuff he was featuring on the mound, you just felt like, just get this guy a couple of runs, and you're going to win the game.
2-2 pitch. Oh. Strikeout number 4.
Here come the Giants against Jay Happ, the Astros left-handed.
That one is hit well. Adios, pelota! 2-run shot. It's gone! And that's 2 in a row.
He got run support that he didn't get a lot, so he wasn't too used to it.
Here comes Arias. The throw home. Safe!
I can call a game differently with a lot of run support. Obviously, this game, by about the 5th, 6th inning, I was like, okay, I need to now call this game like it's a tight game.
It's funny, we never got these leads. We can't even enjoy this one because we're like this.
There's something different you're going to see every night at the ballpark. It's the old saying, baseball is a game of inches.
Altuve to follow. And that is
It was very close.
I'm still not sure if this ball's fair or foul.
Malinsky was going to call that fair, and then in the middle of his call, he changed his mind.
Thankfully, nothing can be replayed in front of the bag.
Why is that a 1/4 inch in the good? I still don't know.
You realize how close it was to that being the first hit.
You know, it's early on in the game. We wouldn't even be having this conversation because it would just be a normal double down, triple down the line.
It hit just behind the bag and then took a big hop.
An inch or two can change the outcome of a game, outcome of the history of a franchise. That's part of why we all love the game. Something small that can impact something so big.
It looked like that from here. I was a little shocked myself.
I can't completely control the outcome. I can control what I need to do over here on my side of the mound, and then once the ball goes, it's up to those guys to figure that part out.
There's a deep drive by Chris Snyder.
I thought that was gone for sure.
I really thought that was the first hit.
I thought it was 10 rows deep.
Cabrera will catch it at the wall.
You see that? He thought it was gone. I thought it was gone when it went off the bat, but in our park, you never knew.
It would be interesting to be able to look at metrics that we know now, exit velocity. It sure seemed like the wind helped us out on that one.
Snyder and I kind of give each other eye contact. He looked at me like, seriously? And I'm looking at him like, seriously? Like, there's no reason that ball should have stayed in the ballpark. Pagan explained it the best. He's like, that ball for sure went like 10 rows deep and then came back. He's like, I don't know why, but it came back.
I remember thinking there's definitely some magic in the air tonight.
Cain, I mean, you could tell he's into this.
And I think in that point, everybody in the whole stadium knows about it, but nobody want to say anything. Oh man, you know what? He's showing a perfect game. Oh no, like what are you doing? And then all of a sudden, next guy get a hit. Nobody wants to be that guy.
It would have been, I bet, the first time through the lineup that I knew that I hadn't given up a hit.
I'm pretty sure I was aware it was a perfect game. I don't ever recall sitting in the dugout thinking that he had a no-hitter and not realizing it was a perfect game.
The Astros have not yet managed a base runner against Cain.
It didn't register to me that that was a perfect game. It never crossed my mind until Amy G brought it up after the game.
You know, I did hear that, and I was amazed by that.
I think it's so funny that he didn't realize it was a perfect game. I don't know if I would admit that.
He was just locked in on they hadn't got a hit.
He probably would have been more nervous too. Knowing his personality, he would have felt the same thing I was feeling for the rest of the guys on the field as well.
I think some pitchers who probably had perfect games going knew it, and now they're trying not to walk a guy. The fact he didn't know about it, it probably worked to his advantage.
Bixler, no contact. Posey to finish the putout. And a game that's been about the Giants' offense is now about Matt Cain. 10-0.
You know, something would have happened, and I would have tried to get hit by Muni crossing the street after the game.
Arias moves from short to third. Crawford is now at short.
I can't have, to me, the best shortstop in the game sitting on the bench, and Arias was our best third baseman.
To take guys out for defense, it's not easy.
You think you're going to mess maybe Matt a little bit or Karma, you know, by changing the pieces out there.
I love Boch for that, for these kinds of things. They're baseball no-nos in a sense.
Coming in to play defense at any game when you're cold off the bench is hard enough in itself. But then to come in, you got 42,000 people and you got a perfect game on the line. Oof, that's some pressure.
I knew when I got called up the year before that it was mostly for my defense. I had pretty minimal minor league experience and definitely nothing with that sort of pressure.
I had such faith and trust into his managing skills that, like, all right, he's always putting guys in the correct position. Let's let him do his job.
Now the count goes full, 3-2.
You know, a walk in this perfect game's over. So you're wanting the challenge.
In my mind, I knew that he knew that we were going inside. How do we get him out inside, but how do we get him not to make good contact?
So Cain, who hasn't walked anybody, listening to that crowd. And this is hit out into the alleyway.
I didn't necessarily want it to be on the plate as much as it is. It was just being aggressive.
I didn't notice that Angel Pagan was playing that much toward left center. And so when he hit the ball, I went, oh no. I looked at Angel and I said, he's got no chance.
No one's there. No one was there. The first couple of times I turned around to look, I'm like, oh, it's for sure in the gap. Pagan's not there. It's over. It's like, oh, all right, you won the battle.
But I kind of knew Schaefer, he likes to pull everything, and I shape myself towards that gap like 3 or 4 steps.
All of a sudden, I see Blanco come out of kind of the corner of my eye.
Gregor Blanco reaches out, diving! He caught it! And that's when you start to think it might happen.
Should be in the gap. It should have been.
And this is hit out into the alleyway. A long run for Blanco, and Blanco's gonna dive, and he makes the catch! Just an unbelievable catch here in the 7th inning.
I'm grateful that Gregor made that great catch, because I would have taken responsibility for Angel being shifted over that much.
I mean, you look at the ball, it's under the Charles Schwab sign going out to Visa. Blanco's almost in straightaway right. His route had to be so perfect. He had to get a perfect jump, and then he had to lay out like an over-the-shoulder catch going into the end zone.
It is one of the greatest catches I've ever seen with what was at stake.
That's 100% when I was like, there's something special going on about tonight. Let's keep it going.
I just remember being so happy that the perfect game was still intact. At the same time, it was like, well, if Blanco's gonna make that catch, then I really have to make every play now.
You have to turn the page pretty quick. We're not playing the Blanco catch anymore. We're attacking this hitter. Buster just took that moment to look up at Altuve of like, hey, what's this gonna do right here?
I don't know if I was trying to pick up on like subtleties, like cues, like maybe does this guy look antsy? Does he look like he's gonna take? Is he peeking at a sign? I was probably trying to gauge whether I thought Altuve was gonna ambush.
And he takes a strike, and it's 0-1.
You know, I think the tendency is just human nature. After something crazy like that happens, you'll get a guy kind of being more aggressive, but I mean, Altuve didn't bite on the slider there.
Here's his 1-2. Strike 3 called, and he got Altuve looking, 2 down.
Matt mentioned that he didn't shake.
Yeah, no, I never shook him off.
And that wasn't the case for every game. He shook me plenty. So for whatever reason that night, we were in sync.
We had a good flow to being able to keep the game moving. That was something that Buster and I always did well. You have to have that unspoken bond.
He trusted me probably to a fault at some times. There's one to Jed Lowry that I look back on now and I kind of shake my head.
I still don't know what Buster was thinking throwing a 3-2 changeup here. Luckily, I didn't think about it and he just called it.
Here's the pitch on the way, and it is swung on and missed. The changeup struck him out. Number 13.
All the attention's on him now this last 2-3 innings, right? So he knows that he's feeling it.
Matt Cain has 13 strikeouts, and he has not given up a base runner tonight.
The cleanup hitter, J.D. Martinez, leads off. He's flied out deep to center and struck out looking.
That's a ball, and if I hadn't established a strike zone earlier in the game, I think that he would have probably taken that pitch. So being able to be aggressive early in the game and get those guys swinging was an advantage on my part. We got that inning off to the right start, and it also gave me a little bit of relief of like, all right, 1 out down.
Yeah, we love 1-pitch outs.
In the dirt with a changeup.
Exactly where I wanted to throw it. There was definitely a little bit of anxiety in how I released that one. Tried not to show it, but it was like the more I physically tried to do, it made it way worse. I had to mentally figure out how to pitch the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And that took time to be able to mentally coach yourself through the end of a game.
Strike 3 called! Inside corner. Number 14 for Cain. 2 down in the 8th.
So there's pressure, a lot of pressure on those defenders. They don't want to be the guy to make the mistake.
I do remember being aware of that, and I remember being nervous for Craw.
Over to his left, Crawford. He's got it, the throw. Inning over.
The way that it comes off of his bat, first couple hops on the grass were a little bit low, but it had that top spin on it and kind of picked up speed once it hit the dirt. I kind of moved my feet backwards there at the very end. A last-second maneuver like that, it could have like top spin and hit the heel of my glove and run up my arm, and there goes a perfect game.
8 perfect innings in the books for Matt Cain. 24 phase. 24 retired, and a huge ovation as he heads back to the dugout.
There's just so much electricity in the atmosphere.
No, I'm hearing it. I'm for sure hearing it.
You can feel it through the podcast, and it gives me chills even to the day.
Matt Cain going for history when we come back. 10-0 Giants.
We're 3 outs away. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to talk to Matt. I'm not going to say how you feeling or anything.
No one wants to be around Cain. You just let him do himself.
Also, how nervous the dugout was for Matt.
It was the most nervous I've ever been in a game.
The nerves I was feeling the most was sitting in the dugout in the bottom of the 8. It was more like the anticipation for me on the bench of getting out there. You never knew if you were going to be in this moment ever again your entire career, and I never was.
Matt Cain puts his hat on. First Posey, then Cain out of the dugout. We're going to the 9th.
Probably try not to overthink anything. Let's stay in our rhythm. Let's go about our business. I'm like, all right, hey, let's hurry up and get to it. But then again, like, hey, let's not hurry up and get to it because that affects whatever's going on. You're just constantly kind of pulling back at yourself. You're telling yourself to go do it, then you're telling yourself to back up. It'll happen if it's supposed to happen.
I remember thinking that he didn't look nervous at all, which helped me. If he had looked nervous, if he had looked like I could tell like his breathing was picking up or, that his heart rate was getting faster, it probably wouldn't have been good for me or anybody else on the field.
Sometimes you could see what was going on behind catchers, but he was always super chill, always calm.
Apparently we were good actors that night.
Hit out to left field.
This was one of those fly balls where you're like, oh man, that's gotta be an out. But then you're like, golly, is that gonna go in the stands? Is it not gonna go in the stands? Is Melky gonna trip over the mound?
I wasn't sure that ball was gonna stay in play. And then I was like, oh man, that ball's got a chance to get down.
Melky Cabrera near the line. One down in the 9th.
That's not an easy play. He makes it look pretty easy, but not an easy play.
Cain's wife, Chelsea, is here at the ballpark tonight and hoping.
Chelsea looked real nervous there.
I would have got nervous. Seeing the wives always do that to you.
I think she got it more than anybody else did at the time because she looked like she was about to puke.
You talk about hanging on every pitch. Here's Snyder.
We had faced each other so many times that I was conscious of throwing the ball inside, but I wasn't gonna throw it knee high where he liked it. But I knew that if I threw it inside a little higher, that he would swing.
But again, you can't go too far in because if you hit the guy, the perfect game's over.
High fly ball in the park. 2 down in the 9th.
Everybody had that same nervousness. If it was for Crawford who just came in the game, it's Arias moving position. It's every guy out there that you see Melky catch a ball in the 9th and he's like, cradling it like it's a bomb if he drops it.
The whole stadium is just pushing for this to happen. You feel it. You feel it in your fingertips.
And the hitter will be a local kid, Jason Castro.
Local kid, he had his first ever home run off.
Yeah, I knew that, and I remembered it too. I was like, for sure, don't hang him a changeup because those don't come back. I knew that feeling, and I wasn't going to repeat it. It's like, hey, I can throw a changeup. I just need to throw it this way. It'll be fine.
And it is a called strike one at the knees. 0-1.
Nice. Change up first pitch. You normally don't do that, but he located it perfect.
There's been a few that have been lost on the last hitter. We're feeling all of it. Matt was probably the most relaxed of all of us, I'm guessing.
High with the fastball to even the count. 1 ball and 1 strike.
You just want it so bad. You want it for him, you want it for the city, you want it for the team. Didn't want to mess it up at that point.
And the 1-1 pitch. At the knees, 1-2.
I remember talking with a therapist about not being afraid to actually feel the ground and look up at the stands.
Cain appeared to look around, gazing at the upper deck.
This is a moment that doesn't come around. Let's enjoy it.
I wish I could have been better at taking in moments in my career like he did.
Me looking at the stands, it's not going to change this next pitch. It's not going to make me throw a better strike or a worse strike.
At the time, I wanted to go out and grab him by the jersey and put him on the mound myself.
You're a part of the moment, you're in it, you're aware of it, you're not shying from it. It's not a denial thing. It's like, no, this is really happening. Let's be a part of it.
But now looking into Buster Posey. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
This was the only pitch that I consciously thought about, I want to make this a strikeout. I want to finish the game on a strikeout. And I came out of my delivery and I grunted and I let it loose. And as I let it loose and he hit it, I'm like, no, I ruined it.
On the ground, Arias.
I was running to first, hands up already, just believing that Arias was going to make the play.
Off the bat, I'm like, all right, he did it. And then I see Joaquin kind of take that stumble back a little bit.
You know, left-hand hitter, you're not expecting the ball.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, get rid of the ball.
And the ball's spinning like crazy. He could have easily tangled his foot up right there. He was off balance.
Now, once he went back, it's all arm. I was thinking, oh no, here comes a short hop or something.
I still feel like watching Joaquin take that step back, it still makes me nervous. Like he's not going to make the play, even though I know that he's going to. Fortunately, Jason Castro's not very fast, and I feel comfortable saying that because I'd tell him that to his face too.
You think about defenses nowadays, that's a for sure hit. There is not a third baseman standing where Arias was. That's a hit today, and on this night in 2012, it wasn't.
Arias from deep third, got him! And that's a perfect game!
Yeah, I got chills. I've seen it 100 times too, like you have.
Just glad I didn't break Buster's back there because I readjusted with the hug and letting him carry me around.
That's when Bedlam, I mean, it just, place went nuts.
It's similar to the last out of the World Series where it's like you're happy, but you're also very relieved to be able to enjoy. I was definitely taking it in at that point. And to do it with somebody now that I consider still a really close friend makes it even more special.
If there was a guy that I needed to have a perfect game, it was Cain.
I think why fans loved him so much and still do to this day is that they could tell he genuinely cared about his teammates.
It wasn't a night about just me. This was a night about everybody on the team banding together and doing something special.
Whoever's on that team gets to carry that with them forever.
This night would not have happened if they hadn't have done what they had done.
I don't want to throw rags under the bus here, but I'm pretty sure I saw a couple of tears.
I was fine till I saw his wife come to the dugout and she had tears in her eyes, and I think I started crying. What this guy's been through, we got to watch him grow up from 17, 18 years old.
I'm definitely aware that I threw a no-hitter and I was relieved. I think consciously the first thing that I can think of was having the interview with Amy G in the dugout.
Matt Cain, you just pitched the first perfect game in Giants franchise history.
Do you understand that? And no, I don't. I'm just trying to waste time to try to register thoughts in my head and how to communicate what just went on.
You have to almost have this mindset, you can and your teammates can do anything.
We've been waiting for him to do something like this for a while. We knew he could do it. He comes out and battles every time. It was awesome. I'm so happy for him.
And then when you're removed from it a little bit, you realize that some of these things that you are a part of are extremely historic and rare, this being one of them. A franchise that's 120 plus years old with some of the best pitchers to ever put on a jersey, having played in this organization. And it's the only one.
It's amazing that so many things in our lives could prepare us maybe for just one moment. It just so happened to be that the perfect game was written into my career as well. But I feel like that was my job, was to go out there to throw 9 innings, to complete the game. I never wanted the amount of recognition that came with all of that. I didn't understand it.
A perfect game is like the best book you'll ever read. It's like the best movie that you'll ever see.
But I think I got afraid it was just going to be the only thing that people would think of. If my name came up, it was just going to be those two side by side.
The author of the 22nd perfect game in Major League history, Matt Cain.
I was so worried I was going to get stuck in that moment that I didn't really appreciate what a special night it was. I was very self-conscious of that, and that was my insecurity. It had nothing to do with anybody else.
I totally understand where he's coming from. People would ask me about my no-hitter all the time. I wanted these guys to enjoy the moments, because you need those when you look back. You got to have them. You felt like I did something. I left the game with something.
It took me a long time to realize that it didn't take away from anything else that I had done.
And every pitcher that ever took the slab stands and applauds this man today.
That's what was really hard for me to realize towards the end of my career that I had to finally come to. You got to accept all of it. There's a lot to life, and one night doesn't define anybody. There's things that we do in our lives that we don't really realize how far it reaches out to, and you get 10 years past to 20 years past. It's a touching part of your life that just takes time and takes age to realize.
You know what, 10 years ago, something like that happens, and maybe some kid over there now loves the Giants more.
10-year-old that was at that game is going to be telling his grandson that he watched Matt Cain's perfect game. That's what's so awesome about sports. It has the ability to transcend generations.
It's taken this long, 10 years now, to really be able to put it together. It's such a cool thing to think that this is a memory that could stick out in a lot of people's lives. And I'm happy to be a part of it.